call this work session Monday, January 22nd to order. We'll have the invocation by Kyla Osborne and the Pledge of Allegiance by Eden Osborne.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessings and provisions for our city. May the Lord bless our leadership with godly wisdom as they govern and lead us. Go with each of us as we seek to do your will so that all will know Jesus Christ is King. Amen.
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 Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Oh, that ain't long. First thing tonight, Scottsboro High School Beta Club step-by-step program presentation. Mr. Kyle Wright.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me take the time to talk to y'all. First off, I wanted to tell y'all about who I am. My name is Kyle Wright, and I'm a senior at Scottsboro High School. And I've been pretty active in the community, and today I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the program that I'm trying to implement. And in the future, I hope to one day teach in the Scottsboro City School System. So, we can go ahead.
Okay.
Well, first off, my program is called Step by Step, and it's an initiative to help raise awareness for poverty. And within our school system, roughly 60% of our students are living in poverty. Poverty is substandard housing, hunger, homelessness, below average academics, behavioral problems, or poor social function. Poverty can affect many aspects of a person's life. So for our step one is to meet the physical needs of some of the students in our school system. We're starting a shoe drive for people to donate new shoes here at City Hall, and people can also make monetary donations at Redstone Federal Credit Union, and as everyone can see on the screen here, there's the account number, and after we collect all the shoes, we're gonna distribute them through the counselors and give them to the kids that they think need it the most. The next step is the social needs of some of the students in our school system. We're implementing a mentor program at Collins Intermediate School to help with our MTSS initiative. And basically, we're just gonna do some one-on-one time with some of these students and just be a role model and a leader and just kind of help guide them in whatever they may need. So the next step, and we created a PSA. Are we going to show that today, Mr. Bell?
Well, I'll try.
If that will come up.
Now, I won't have sound, though, like, I don't think. Let's see if I can.
If it can't come up, that's all right.
I didn't try that part. Sorry. I should have pulled that up before we started.
We can just keep going.
Go ahead. Go ahead. And if it comes up, we'll stop.
All righty. So that kind of concludes the presentation. But anyways, I just want to thank y'all for giving me the time to speak. And especially I want to thank Mr. Bailey for letting me get in contact with him to get me here. And just thank you all.
Well, before you run off, they may have questions for you, so don't run off too far. I want to thank you, Kyle, you and Ms. Strickland. I appreciate you reaching out to me, and this, just being a drop-off place is a little part of something we can do, but getting the word out, having media here and things like that, hopefully that we can get this thing to spread and get the program started right. So, anyone have questions about the program, Mr. Wright?
Good program.
Yes.
One question, like the mentorship at Collins, how are you reaching certain kids, or can those kids get signed up for that?
So what we did was we got in contact with some of the teachers and counselors over at Collins, and they handpicked students that they thought would best fit our program.
Sounds great.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Kyle, have you ever thought about maybe mentoring? I think I talked to Ms. Strickland about this. Our Ben Sanford Center in the afternoons would be great to reach out to them too. That'd be great.
Yes, ma'am. And in the future, I really think that can be a possibility. Right now, this is the first year that we're trying to implement anything like this. And so on down the line, I think we can definitely try and implement that. But as of right now, we're working with what we got, and we're just going to take it day by day.
Mr. Wright, how should the checks be made out?
Ms. Strickland?
Step-by-step, what was it, step-by-step program, is that what they called it? Wildcat step-by-step program.
Okay.
That step-by-step
And
program.
that's through the high school?
Through the, yes, you have to actually either take them to Redstone and tell them that name of that program or that account number. So it's a special donor account for 6 months, and then they'll review the account after.
Of course, it could be just dropped off at the high school,
Yes, you can
because they
drop
have a
off.
Redstone inside the high school now. So, anyone else any questions? Thank you, Mr. Wright. Appreciate you
Thank
sharing
you
with
all.
us. Number 2 tonight, discuss the job description for fire inspector. Chief Necklace.
Thank you very much. This is, mentioned this several times, to you as a body and individually, and talked about the needs for this position, which all still are present in terms of the workload, in terms of the amount of inspections and the various things that role does. Those are going to be compounded soon with my impending retirement, and through that transition, I wanted to propose this again so that we would theoretically, before I skip out, have some time to train somebody up, at least get them a good footing in what they need to be doing and get that started, because we're not real sure what the transition will look like after I'm gone and how long that will take. We didn't really want to lose ground on any of those inspections, plan reviews, new constructions, and recurring and all of that. So in front of you, you have a job description, which I think you've seen before, that I would ask you to approve if you so chose. You also have an updated organizational chart, and then there would be a budget amendment for the rest of this budget year in, I think it's up to $66,462. And that's based on a topped out person being in that position. We don't know where that person would fall. It could be less. That includes salaries, retirement, benefits, so on and so forth. I'd be happy to entertain any questions or try to answer any questions I can. But I thought, again, this was a good time given my timing and between now and retirement and everything that we want to keep moving forward in the fire department.
Go ahead.
If we create a new inspector division, where would it fall under the chart?
Well,
Where the
in
training,
the chart as it sits, of course, my spot would soon be vacant, but it would actually be under the deputy chief as it sits now. Now,
where the training chief is, would be into that same bracket?
I think if you see it would be in that line, but I think if you see where the deputy chief is now, it should show the inspector to the side of that.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so it's in that line in terms of organization. Wouldn't have anybody under him, wouldn't have anybody reporting to that position. It's not a supervisory position.
So the deputy chief and inspector would be on that bracket?
Well,
The
Don't
deputy,
look at that the wrong way. They're in the same line of supervision.
okay,
The pay is not the same
okay,
at all. So the organizational chart does not reflect pay scale.
okay.
Anyone else have any questions on this job?
And this basically is just agreeing to this job description for this position that we don't have right now.
This position for the remainder of the budget year.
Right. And then we would, if we decide to do this, we would come back and vote to hire.
No, we'll be doing that tonight if we do it.
Well, I think we need to hire, we're getting the cart before the horse. I think we need to know who the chief is at that time before we create a position.
Well, the position is for the fact that, I'm going to explain that again.
Well,
To
again,
get someone trained while we don't have a chief.
obviously, the underlying need for this position is the amount of work that's having to be done by an inspector. I mean, that's been the underlying need the whole time. Now, the present, I guess, urgency, or what brings it tonight, is the fact that I'm gonna be soon leaving. I anticipate, I don't know how you guys will proceed with filling my position, but if I can humbly say, it's gonna take quite a bit of search to find somebody to take on. No, I don't know how long that's gonna take, and I don't know what that's gonna look like, but I would expect with everything going on, there may be an interim role for some time, there may be some other downtime before that position's technically filled, before you're paying basically before you're putting somebody new into that spot.
Well, wouldn't you say whoever the chief is promoted to, that chief should have some input on who the inspector is?
I think should happen.
Well, then, and if, I think, I understand what you're saying, and obviously you guys run how this goes. I think we could cope with the fact that if you waited till I left and then filled that role, or we didn't fill that role until then, I mean, obviously, we just need to know that job's gonna get done most importantly, but I do think there's gonna be somewhat of a learning curve.
Yeah.
And however you fill my position, it's gonna leave a gap somewhere, maybe not as big as I'd like to think, but it's gonna
Yeah.
leave a gap, and we need some time to train and to have a person able to step out of the truck and go do that job without losing a ton of time in terms of inspection, if that makes sense.
I'm not,
I assume that the deputy chief would become the interim.
Well, I don't want to assume anything, but I would agree that that makes sense.
And he could oversee and make sure that this gets done and then, pick somebody from.
Within the range.
so if that's,
And I don't disagree
But-
with that, and if,
Let me interject here. But if you do that, then you've got somebody who you're putting in an interim job, but they're gonna have to go back and do the other job too. While they're
Well, they'd
trying to
have-
train somebody.
they would have to be a interim deputy chief too. If the deputy chief moves up to chief.
as I would envision this, and we're getting way deeper than an inspector right now, an interim chief could be interim appointed by the city council. I think if there's an inspector or somebody doing inspector jobs, a deputy chief could sit vacant until this council decides, that position could sit vacant until the council decides who ultimately will be the appointed fire chief.
Yeah.
And I think that would be the appropriate way to do that, because that appointed fire chief needs to be the one that puts people where he wants it when it's done. To your point, Mr. Dahl, in terms of that interim or whoever chief having some input, I can promise you he has input on everything that happens now. So he's gonna have input on this. But again, however you guys wanna proceed with that is fine. I just don't want to leave the city in a position where we've got this huge gap of things that need to be done, not getting done.
I'm not against the position, but I was just thinking the timing wasn't exactly right. But that's up to the whole council.
I don't disagree with that. I was just trying to cut off a gap in the work getting done.
I'd like to make a motion to table the actual
Well, this is just the
job.
work session.
Well,
Yeah, so.
but
But
to
you don't
table
have-
the actual job and then approve the description.
Well, we'll put it on tonight's meeting,
Let me ask you,
and then
while we're
I'll give you a
still
chance
work
to make a-
session, and let me ask you if
Yes.
this is a possibility. If, given that we know my departure date, if we could approve it from that point forward tonight so that we could begin the process of figuring out who that's gonna be, who wants that, and then maybe at least on some unofficial grounds, start getting them in a position to do that. We could go through the process of appointing that and getting them the training and some information so that they would be ready when March 1 rolled around they'd be closer to hitting the ground running.
So we could
So we
approve,
could approve it for, I mean, it would be less money, but not February 1, but March 1.
we can approve the job description itself, whether it gets filled or not.
Sure.
That's what we're doing tonight, anyway.
I would like for us to be in a position over the next few weeks to post this job, that whether it's effective February 1 or March 1 or whenever you decide, so that we can go through that process of determining who that person's gonna be, and then start getting them ready so that they can not lose a lot of ground trying to do that work. Because for whoever fills in an interim role, they're gonna have a little learning curve too, regardless of what they've been doing or not, trying to do a different job and then trying to train somebody. I just don't want to put us in a bad spot, that's all.
Let me ask a question. Looking at that chart where it has deputy chief and inspector, is there any requirement the deputy chief has to be the inspector?
That's just the way that position was so the chart is a little bit funny because I did it.
Yeah.
And Brandy wasn't here to do it. The inspector it actually reports up to the deputy chief. They're not there's no parity there.
Okay.
They're not the same. That where it says inspector, that's just his line of supervision, who he reports to. So, as I mentioned, that's not pay parity. That's not seniority or supervisory parity at all. It just looks funny the way.
But right now, our deputy chief is the inspector too.
Right now, our deputy chief is the only person doing that role.
If we add another inspector, the deputy chief will still be doing inspection.
He'll be doing some, and again, that's gonna be the new guy that determines all that when all those positions are filled and how roles are split. So I don't wanna speak for anybody as to what.
Right.
If we added it last year, then he would still be doing some of those, yes.
Yeah.
But we would be splitting that workload up some so that the deputy chief could do more actual deputy chief things.
Anyone else have any questions on this? If not, we'll put that on tonight then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3, discuss the job description for airport manager. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is essentially changing one word in the job description relative to a requirement of a pilot's license, from changing it from required to preferred. That's the one change.
So you have the job description in your packet here. Anyone have any questions about the job description?
Should that person have a pilot's license?
It shouldn't be required. There's really no reason for him to be a pilot. He's running the airport. If he's got a pilot's license, that's an extra plus, but it shouldn't be a requirement, just a preferred.
Anyone else have questions on the job description? No questions, we'll move that to tonight's meeting too. Number 4, discuss the resolution for funding agreement with AlDOT to install a sidewalk from the Retcom to King Caldwell Park. Mr. Little?
I think you have a resolution and a funding agreement. This is called the Transportation Alternative Program, and as Mr. Bailey said, it's going to install a sidewalk from the Retcom down to King Caldwell Park. And the city's portion would be roughly 20% and be about $60,000. That's what we're looking at for this.
Anyone have any questions about this? They're letting you off easy. All right, we'll put that on tonight's meeting. That'll conclude the work session. Just give me about 1 minute and we'll start the meeting. So we're adjourned from the work session. Call this council meeting Monday, January 22nd to order. We'll dispense with formalities. Ms. Phillips, we do the roll call.
Mr. Dahl?
Here.
Ms. Tolliver?
Here.
Mr. Ashburn?
Here.
Ms. Frederick?
Here,
Mr. Bailey?
Here. We're going to move to adopt the agenda, but I'll have to read it out. We moved over, number one, the resolution to adopt the job description and amend the budget to cover the fire inspector. Number two, a resolution to change the job description for airport manager. And number three, the resolution and budget amendment for a funding agreement with AlDOT to install a sidewalk from the Retcom to King Caldwell Park. So do I have a motion to approve that agenda?
I'll make that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on it? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda's adopted. We'll go to approval of previous minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. There's no old business, so we'll go to number one. The resolution to adopt the job description and amend the budget for the job for the fire inspector. So do I have a motion on the floor on that?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Now, in discussion, I'll say the budget part would be $66,462 that would cover the rest of the year. So if it was filled
Mr. President.
March 1.
Mr. President, all this motion should be doing is including a new job description for the fire inspector. It don't have anything to do with the budget at this time.
Okay, do you want to amend your motion then?
Yes. I was just amending what you were clarifying.
Well,
My
that's,
motion stands like it is. We're not hiring anybody right now.
well, the resolution was the job description and to amend the budget.
I'd like to amend the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to approve for the job description for the fire inspector.
So you make a motion just to approve the job description then?
Right.
Okay. So I have a motion on the floor just to approve the job description. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Job description's approved. Number two, a resolution to change the job description for the airport manager. So do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number three, resolution and budget amendment for the funding agreement with AlDOT to install a sidewalk from the Retcom to King Caldwell Park. The funding would be up to $60,000 that would come out of excess sales tax. So do I have a motion to approve that?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That'll conclude the meeting. There's no delegations tonight, so we'll go to reports. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. Last week was a difficult and challenging week for all of us with the weather. We fared much better than some of the cities and counties to the west of us. But I want to say a special thank you to all the city employees, the Water, Sewer, and Gas Board, and the Electric Power Board. They did an incredible job under some brutal circumstances, particularly the temperatures. Whether it's police, fire, they were out. The street department was out at 2 o'clock Tuesday morning, trying to keep streets cleared. Sanitation was out when they could be. There were some areas that weren't even accessible until Friday morning. And I think you all deserve a big thank you, and we appreciate all the work that y'all did this past week. We don't have these often, but when we do, they're pretty serious. And when it's ice like it was this time, you can't really do anything. And but we appreciate everything that y'all did this past week. That's all I've got, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Frederick?
No, I just repeat what the mayor said. I mean, appreciate everybody that was in the departments getting out in that cold weather and ice, and ditto to what he said.
that all?
That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Ashburn?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Oliver?
I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Wright by having that vision of the step-by-step program. And I'm very excited about our little student council from Caldwell coming and doing the prayer and the pledge. We have leaders, young leaders, that's trying to come this way. So I'm just proud of that. And again, as the mayor said, I'm so proud of our city employees stepping up to last week. I appreciate you, and I know everyone here does. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dahl?
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate, thanking all our city services for trying to keep everybody safe under those weather conditions. I know it was pretty brutal, but thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Of course, we always say our employees are our best asset, and we appreciate them completely. And as you see tonight, we're very fortunate with young people in this community that are future leaders. And you can see it. I just want to tell you, I'm thankful to be back. I missed the last meeting with the death in the family. I thank Mr. Ashburn for filling in. I didn't get to watch it, but I heard it messed up. I don't know if you broke the camera or what it was, but
I made sure we didn't record that.
but thank you. Remind everybody, next Monday is the 5th Monday. We won't have a meeting. So the next meeting will be February 5th with a work session. So.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I need everybody in Scottsboro to come out Friday night. We will be hosting our ARAB, our area game, and it's a huge night for our Lady Wildcats and the gentlemen's too. Again, please come out and support us. We need you. We need you there. If I could put every one of y'all in there without paying, I would too, but I can't do that. But please come out, bring your families out, and share in the joy with our city, please. Thank you.
Thank you. There's nothing else tonight. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.